Death Aura, Death Aura. Also, hey, shout out to NXZ in the chat.
Hey, how we doing? Zeddy?
I say shout out, but
NXZ?
I did notice that Ryan, you did not check in today.
So not much of a shout out, but more of a call out.
Yes, yeah, calling you out. What happened? I saw you sign up, but you didn't check in, mate.
SMH my head. Now, reminder, this is the 6th last Open Cup Fueled by Dare. We have 5 more after this. Wait, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, 5 more after this week, so you might want to get them while you can.
Yeah, definitely. We mentioned it earlier, but if you're just tuning in now, there are only 20 of these, slated for this year, for this current season. So yeah, we'll see if Dare decide to partner with ESL and sponsor more, or after the 20, that's it. It's kind of hard to tell at the moment. It's just, it kind of depends on how well this tournament series has done, and whether they're kind of satisfied with the results. But yeah, I mean, I hope for the best.
We need to sell out even harder, like just to make Dare realize how valuable we can be. Alrighty then. We're gonna be spawning in onto Death Aura. That is the aura. No, that is when people look at you, right? Because you're exuding that deathly aura when you do not get your fix of Dare iced coffee. A Dare fix that up. People will be looking at you and say, "Oh, this guy obviously hasn't had his Dare fix to fix him." So that is why you exude the aura of death. In the top left-hand corner map, spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the player who I've been missing quite a bit here, Light. The player who we haven't been able to cast for quite some time. We have the Blue Protoss coming down all the way from the land of Melbourne. He is going to be representing Legacy Esports. It is Probe. Cosplay extraordinaire.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the Indian Zerg player representing Downfall Gaming. It is Demi.
All right. And as we were talking a little bit about it, as we were trying to fill time earlier, these are just about the 2 heavyweights of ESL Asia. Oh, well, I guess the region itself, Probe has won quite a bit more ESL Fueled by Dares. Demi has won quite a bit more Grand Platypus Opens. And I think I also said ESL Open Cup Asia, which, my mistake.
Yeah, like these are some of the best in the region. Obviously, like you can point to a couple of others, but they are not here today. They did not sign up. Looking at you, Ryan. He's responding in the, in the chat. We love you, Ryan. We just wanted to cast you. That's it. That's all it is.
Exactly. I mean, that's why we saw your sick run throughout ESL ANZ champs, and we thought, man, we need to cast more of him.
Exactly, and yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. But here we go. We are getting this PvZ underway, and already we have that Twilight Council on the way for Probe.
Yeah, gonna be probably going into more of the adept heavy build. We could see him immediately thrown on Dark Shrine. But we never know. But the one thing that we know for sure right now, Light, Probe did not open up Stargate.
Yeah, so he didn't, and
do with that info what you will.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember this, we spoke a little bit about it yesterday, how like Protoss players, they've become a little bit more greedy when it comes to like the order of their buildings. And Death Aura really, he's doing it, he's throwing down the Dark Shrine.
There it is immediately, and he's saying the Stalker to try to prevent this, but Demi is committing. He's
it's
staying
not
the
going to be
course.
fast enough. Yeah, he's going to be able to spot this, and he sees everything there is to see. Are we going to see a cancel?
He might see a cancel now that
Oh.
now that it's been dealt with. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm guessing that Probe, he's showing Demi that he can stay the course as well. And again, DTs are not the end game when you go for this sort of opening. Archons are really what you're gonna be getting Archons anyway, regardless of whether it your opponent scouts this or not.
Yeah, I mean, DTs can definitely deal damage. We've seen them deal damage time and time again. Like, even if it gets scouted, like, the DTs can come out and target down the spores. But I love this Demi. He's getting a much faster lair, which means he should be getting, like, the mobile detection.
Yeah. Exactly. Which will do really well against these DTs, but we have seen in the past, like, where Protoss players were able to find the one angle, right, where there isn't any detection, and they were able to just create a wall.
Yeah, so we do have some DTs being morphed in. Looks like he's opting not to make them straight to Archons. He's going in, trying to see if he can find some damage here in the main base. And there is already a spore, so we'll see. The Queen...
And RDCT's gonna get surrounded. Not quite.
The Queen is exposed. The Queen gets taken out, but... yeah, the DTs get lifted up as well. So, yeah, Demi left his Queen a little bit exposed there and paid the price for it, losing one. So, yeah, get some decent damage, letting in some Archons.
Yeah, well, he'll get Archons if Demi allows him to. That's a little bit of the wrong time to start morphing in, but I think it's just going to be enough if Probe immediately lifts it. No, not quite. And taking out one Archon before it can even morph in. This is already a really good defense coming out from Demi. He has forced Probe to bleed so much resources.
Yeah, like trading a Queen for an Archon, like that was a pretty nice trade there for Demi. So nicely done. He basically shuts down that harassment and it forces Probe to back off a little bit more. And yeah, there we go. Finally, he's able to warp in an Archon.
Can you see what I saw, like? Probe's APM went into 1,200 for a sec.
That's him being upset about losing the Archon.
Yeah. I mean, regardless if that was spamming or not, that's... your fingers have to be really fast to hit that much.
Yeah,
Either that or you have to be really annoyed.
And yeah, so Demi, he establishes himself, like he's getting his fourth base up and running. His creep is really nicely spread as well. And here Probe, he's trying to deal some damage with only a sole Archon. Typically you see him, you know, with his partner.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for that, right? Because you, it's the same reason why you go with double Oracles or double Banshees or whatnot. Once one of them is starting to get targeted, starting to bleed a little bit, you have the other one to sort of finish your job.
Yeah, soak up some damage, right? Like you can, there's definitely a little micro potential there, and a lot of that was taken away. So yeah, both players are kind of, like, or at least Probe is forced back. You know, he's macroing up, he's working on his upgrades, and he does go for this Haluk Scout. He does see the Baneling Nest, he does see the researching buildings as well. So he has a decent idea of what Demi is going for. That
he does. And Probe, you know, he's got to be feeling a little bit relieved right now. This is typically how he'd prefer to play out a PvZ. Part of the reason why he doesn't like playing against Demi is because of his more aggressive openings that he does.
Yeah, I would even say a lot of it has to do with his muta switches, like throwing down spires constantly, and that's kind of what we've known him for. And I mean, Probe is aware that's why he's trying to be as vigilant as he can with these hallucination scouts. He even sent a couple more. Like, he wants to know, like, when that switch is coming, so he can prepare himself. But Demi, he's not going for it.
Yeah. Which is why I think it is such a good thing that Probe is sending in these scouts and remaining so vigilant. Because, you know, you could just say, you know, Demi, if he knows that Demi's going to go for the Spire, then why not just prepare accordingly? Well, it's because Probe is trying to, you know, make his build as efficient as possible. You know, he wants to be able to not unnecessarily get units that in the end he wouldn't need.
Yeah, definitely, and it looks like we do have Demi starting to push out as he is pretty close to maxing out. Of course, always important to note that this max out is a little bit deceptive, as a lot of that is in this Roach Ravager.
Yeah, and when you look at the army supply, in a PvZ, if you're just 20 if the Protoss player is just 20 supply below, that's really not much. And in fact, there are a number of scenarios where the Protoss player with that lower army supply just has a better army.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Demi's trying to find an angle. Looks like he's putting up his army, trying to maybe get us around.
And these Archons are pretty exposed. One of them already being taken out. The War Prism nowhere near into position to lift these up. And Probe just lost all his Archons, basically for nothing.
Oh my god, and all the Immortals are falling as well, and the Banelings are chasing the charge lots. They get good connections as well. Everything falls through Probe.
And this is the double-edged sword of Probe scouting there. He was using so much energy on these hallucinated scouts. He had no force fields available for him. And now look at it, Probe. Oh man. Oh man, GG is called. Demi takes game number 1.
Yeah, GG. And as you were saying, I was actually going to point it out as well, and I'm glad you noticed too that a lot of his sentries, they actually had really low energy because of those hallucinations.
Towards the end there, he had one sentry that had energy, but it only had energy to throw out another hallucination.
Yeah, like when that engagement started, 2 of the sentries, they had like a quarter energy, whereas the other 2 actually had decent amount. It was really, really odd to see, and Probe, he just wasn't ready for the push.
I do have to agree with you there entirely. I just looked at Twitch chat, rip NXZ. We love you, man.
Yeah, and NXZ, unfortunately, he did miss the check-in by a couple of minutes, and especially this tournament, it's very, you know, as soon as the hour hits, yeah.
They already want to be, they already want to get the bracket on the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Australia, man, it is very not quite winner takes all, cutthroat, I guess I should say.
Yeah, definitely. And already this series, like Probe, he was very vigilant with his scouting, but it did, as we were pointing out, it did cost him, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's aware of how Demi plays, and I feel like Demi's using that to his advantage.
He very much so is. And now we're gonna see Eternal Empire. This is Probe. I gotta imagine this is Probe's map pick, right?
I imagine so, yeah.
Because I always remember that legendary game, Probe versus Demi. Demi was so ahead. He was right at Probe's throat. Probe was just staring deaf right at the door. But in the end, he just beat Demi back, and he was able to claw his way back into equalizing. Now, Probe did unfortunately lose in the end there, but that was beautiful to see.
Yeah, I think that it was during those moments where he really solidified himself as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, as one of
new acting deputy.
Exactly.
But speaking of the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., here he is, spawning in the top right-hand corner of the Eternal Empire, EELE, where in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning in the top right-hand corner of EELE, we do in fact have the blue Protoss all the way from the land of Melbourne. He is the assistant acting deputy director of S.H.I.E.L.D. himself, representing Legacy Esports. He is Probe.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Eternal Empire LE, we have the Indian Zerg player representing Downfall Gaming. It is Demi.
Alright, so Eternal Empire. I have a feeling we're going to see that Spire transition.
This would be a really nice map for it, to be honest. Like, you know, there's a lot of room, there's a lot of like maneuverability available for these mutalisks if they come into play. So yeah, if there's a map to do it on, I think it'd be nice to see it on this one. And yeah, we could also be heading into a longer game, because as you were pointing out, I remember it as well. Probe, like his game against Demi, where he looked dead in the water, but he just held on and he just kept trading and turtling up to the point where he had like a decent army. And I think in the end it came down to this like one big push, but like he just didn't have the economy to remake or
It did.
remax.
They traded
after-
armies. In fact, actually, I think Probe
Yeah.
made it out of that fight with a carrier and a Tempest or something like that.
Yeah,
But because
yeah, yeah.
Demi was maxed out for so long, you know, had that economy for so long, he just remaxed and was able to beat a final nail in Probe's coffin that game.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to tune into that, that is available on our YouTube channel. It was a great game. It was a great series to see, and yeah, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like even though Probe he has solidified himself as the best in A and Z, I do think that like players like Demi and Miyamika, like they can definitely be the bane of Probe when it comes to
he definitely agrees with you there, like.
Yeah.
I would throw Beastork in there, but I think Probe has just wiped him from his memory.
yeah, pretty much. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, I wouldn't necessarily say that like Demi's like you know, incredibly favored. I will say that they just go back and forth in series, and it isn't clear cut who would come out ahead.
Yeah, sometimes when it comes to these two players, it really can come down to who's in better form in that one day.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, and we'll see how this plays out as opposed to game number 1. This time, Probe went for that Stargate opener.
Yeah, which we were talking about the maneuverability and the mobility of Mutalisk earlier on at the start of this, and that applies to Stargate as well. It really doesn't take much or it really doesn't take a lot of time for the Protoss player to be on the other side of the map with these Stargate units.
Yeah, definitely, and honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised by this. I think I think SOS ruined me a little bit yesterday because I don't know if you remember, we saw a lot of PvZs yesterday, and SOS, I don't think he rarely made a Phoenix. He went like double or triple like Oracle openers.
He went triple Oracle, then he lost an Oracle. Then he remade the Oracle.
Yeah, and it wasn't just that game. Like he went like double or triple Oracle pretty often. So it's a little bit refreshing to see a Phoenix first. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Probe.
The second Phoenix as well. This is great. This is a breath of fresh air.
I love it. Not quite that mass Phoenix style that we saw from. Who was it that did that? Was it Zest? Or maybe it was Stats. One or the other. And not quite that mass Oracle style that we saw from SOS, or I guess that mass Disruptor style.
Yeah. And you say that, but
okay.
Stargate.
And your Phoenixes keep on coming.
Yeah, and again, as a Zerg player, it's so difficult to scout this, but Demi, he does have one Overlord that the Phoenixes haven't spotted to the north of the map, and that could be the saving grace if it makes it into the main base.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit worrisome right now for Probe, as his Phoenixes are not in position for this additional to prevent the scouting of these additional two Stargates. If Probe goes in to deny that Overlord right now, Demi can just assume that, it's just going to be one single Stargate, and it's just pumping out a bunch of Phoenixes.
And he's trying, but yeah, he spots both Stargates. He has seen all 3, so he knows exactly what Probe is doing, and now, what will Demi's response be?
+1 air weapons is on the way. Not only do we rarely see triple Stargate, we very rarely see this much dedication to Skytoss, and honestly, I'm gonna tell you, like, in ZVP or in PvZ, I feel like that's become such a rarity.
Yeah, and Probe, he's committing very heavily to this. Meanwhile, Demi, he's just making more and more lanes. It looks like he's gonna try and push out across the map,
which is ideal versus Mass Phoenix, to be fair.
Yeah, like force the Phoenixes across the map, and like depending on how much damage Demi does, like he'll be able to transition into Spire or Hydras after this push.
All right, well, Probe has seen this. So it's gonna be on him to deny this from going on. I'm a little bit worried about where the Oracle is right now. I feel like that could definitely have thrown down a Stasis Ward or 2 around, because now this is a lot of Lings that I'm not convinced that Probe has enough to lift.
Yeah, there is a secondary wall, and the Lings are going to be able to try and find some damage here at the third base. Meanwhile, a Spire is thrown down at home.
Well, the roaches have been dealt with. Going up to start here for Probe. And yeah, we are starting to see that Spire transition. I can't imagine that's going to be Mutas. That would be suicidal right now. But you never know. Demi is a bit of a man. He's a shark.
Look.
Sometimes he just senses the blood and he just goes straight for it.
If we were casting Mia Micah, I would agree. I'd be like, yeah, Muta's 100%. But Demi, I'm sure he's gonna be going for Corruptors. And unfortunately, like, he didn't really deal too much damage at all. He killed a couple of ground units and that's it. But what's important is that he kept the Phoenixes busy.
Indeed, it did. Made sure those Phoenixes were using a lot of their energy there. And now round 2 is coming in, and look at that, the secondary wall is here, but it does get a bit of a hole. And a lot of these Phoenixes, I think Probe might just barely have enough, but it's a little bit iffy, just looking at the energy count.
Yeah, and what matters is how many probes are going to go down before this gets cleaned up. So far, 8. Well, looking to get a couple pylons as well.
Well, it doesn't matter how many probes go down right now. Demi really is just looking to take out one probe at the end.
I was waiting for the pun. As soon as you started that sentence, I'm like, oh boy, what's he gonna say? But again, some decent damage dealt here from Demi, and he's continuing to send more and more lings across the map as well, just buying more time. He's expanding at the same time as well, and
I really like this. Upgrades. I really like this from Demi. He's identified that the Phoenixes, they can do a lot against the mineral line, but it can't really do much against, you know, buildings, the hatcheries themselves. So Demi's just situating himself to Maynard all of his drones essentially.
Yeah, definitely. He's even setting up a bunch of spores preemptively as well to eventually move them to protect that new base. And there we go, Corruptor's finally on the way for Demi as well. And he has a decent queen count as well, so his mineral lines should be relatively safe. Oh god, but the Overlords...
But this is a lot of Phoenixes though, to the point where Probe really can afford to lose 1 or 2. And ideally, you know, he doesn't even have to lose the Phoenixes. He can just, yep, there we go. He is starting to kite these, this anti-air.
Yeah, and it looks like Probe, he's done with Phoenix production. He is transitioning into a more immortal ground-based army.
Yeah, that's one mineral line dealt with.
Yeah, 16 drones went down. Jesus
So
Christ.
Overall, I feel like both players did trade just about evenly there.
Yeah, and part of me wants to give the edge a little bit to Probe. Like, I mean, look, you can see even in the worker count at the moment, like, Probe is well ahead. He's getting his 4th base up and running. So,
plus,
yeah, it's kind of...
Plus, there's a difference between 3 Nexus Chrono Boost production versus Larva production in it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, Demi, he's struggling right now, and at the moment he's heavily supply blocked. He's having to remake all the Overlords that he lost as well. These Phoenixes are just dealing so much damage, and oh god, even committing to kill these queens as well.
Yeah, and again, again, that's just gonna have a bit of a compound effect. These queens, not only are they there for to inject energy, they are also looking to clear creep, or not clear creep, spread creep, and potentially transfuse as they have to. Now Probe is going straight forward, and I'm a little bit worried right now, but the Banelings have just about been dealt with, and so these Zealots are gonna have a very nice time taking out as much as they can. GG is called. Probe very quickly. We thought we were in for a long game on Eternal Empire, but Probe tying up that series in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, GG. Like, Demi, he did spot that triple Stargate opener. Like, he was able to gain that information, but the initial counterattack that he went for to try and buy time, like, if you recall, he didn't get any damage done. Like, all he got was time. It wasn't until much later where he finally got some drone damage, but he invested a lot for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and behind that, like, we saw that he didn't really have a ground army to sustain himself. Like, he had a bunch of Corruptors and Queens, and that's about it, right? Like, those...
Yeah, some, you know, Queens, they're pretty good. Anti-air, just offensively as a unit. And we did see that, you know, Probe's Phoenixes, I almost said Phoenix's Probes. Either way, Probe's Phoenixes did have a little bit of trouble dealing with them. But that's when the rest of the army came in and just really sealed the deal.
Yeah, definitely. Just the economy of Demi and, like, the larva as well just wasn't there. Like, losing all those overlords, all those drones, like, it just really hurt him.
Truly did. By the way, we do have our other semifinals are currently underway. It is Azure versus Dark Void. We might be able to jump into that mid-series, but yeah, we'll definitely see. Either way, we will have a Terran player in the finals.
Ooh, Azure with the 2-0 over Justice Simon.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, nicely done. And, you know, unless something crazy happens in that series, yeah, Azure should make it all the way to the finals. Again, Dark Void is more of an amateur player, but it'd be pretty sick to see him, like, you know, maybe even take some maps.
He's also a Terran player, which is why, yeah. Wait, a Terran player in the finals that's not see-through a hut? What? Anyway, while we let you ponder on that and wrap your head around that, we are now here on Ice and Chrome LE. We're in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. We do in fact have a blue Protoss player coming down all the way from the land of Melbourne. He is unburdened right now. He has no schoolwork to worry about, so we can really see him play unhinged here. Representing Legacy Esports, we have Probe.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ice and Chrome LE, we have the Indian Zerg player representing Downfall Gaming. It is Demi.
And we're getting into another macro map here. Well, in theory, a macro map, right? But we have seen in numerous times where the players decide, yeah, no, can't be dealing with that.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see how these players decide to open up. You know, Probe, he's going for a Stargate. Game 1, he went for a Twilight Council. So, you know, he's showing that he isn't necessarily like a one-trick pony, like one style. You know, looking at you, SOS. Just always Stargate all the time. But yeah, we'll see. I don't think we're gonna see another triple Stargate.
Probably not. Yeah, that's one of those builds where you are. I don't want to say that you're relying on the surprise factor, but it takes a while to set up. There's a lot that your opponent can do, you know, in between to really disrupt that. So you do kind of want to be unscouted for a while, or have it be unsuspected.
Yeah, definitely. And so far, you know, we do see Probe going for that Stargate opener. Whether he throws down more Stargates behind this, you know, yet to be determined. But yeah, we'll see how Probe plays this out.
He might just double up, go for 6 Stargates.
He may just go triple Oracle. That's not gonna happen. I feel like if he did, I feel like Stats would maybe have a word with him.
Exactly. He'd be like, no. Hi, SOS has gotten to you.
He'd be like, look.
He's corrupting my agents.
I appreciate what you've done, but I think we're gonna have to let you go from Shield. I think Stats is gonna have that talk with him.
Look, we saw a lot of, you know, because of your achievements, we've promoted you to assistant deputy, what you might call it, director. But unfortunately, there are some things that we can't protect you from. Or we can't really allow.
Yeah, it's against policy. Well, it's against company policy. But we'll see. As so far, you know, Demi did go in with his Overlord. He did scout that it was a Phoenix first. You can see an Oracle morphing in as well. Guess we're really just curious what the follow-up is. And ooh, it's a Twilight Council.
All right, so already playing this out quite a bit different. They're down a couple more gateways as well, so Probe is going to be transitioning to more of a gateway army. I want to say a soul push, but we haven't seen that. Or we haven't seen a very, you know, orthodox soul push in a while.
Yeah. We have seen Pez a couple of times go for Glaveless Adepts and have the Oracle support the Adepts as well with his initial push. We could see that here, but again, that's a lot of gateways. 6 gateways.
I feel like Probe has decided I cannot be bothered playing macro. That's charge first on the way. And
Yeah.
this is looking like it could be a lot of trouble for Demi. He is throwing down the Baneling Nest, so that's gonna help him a lot. In fact, that is the one building that you have to get against this style of Protoss.
Yeah, I'm just checking Demi's vision. I have no idea how he's aware, but he's
I don't
doing
think he's
exactly
aware.
what he's.
I don't think
he has
he's
no
aware.
idea. But he's doing the right moves. Like
is.
he's getting a Baneling Nest, he's getting +1 melee as well, which will help his Baneling so much more. But he really needs to scout. Like there is so much to be seen in the main base of Probe. Like the gas count is a big tell. The amount of gateways as well. Like there are a lot of red flags here.
Way.
Oh
The Lord's
god.
making its way, light. But is it gonna be too late? We already see the Warpism going across the map, and because Demi neglected Numenite's Carapace, he might not be able to see this until it's too late. There are a couple of Banelings being morphed right now, but 4 Banelings. If
You need a lot
Probe
more
just
than
targets
that.
them with the Oracle, exactly. If Probe just targets them with the Oracle or lifts one of them up with the Phoenix, it's not gonna be looking too good.
Oh god.
Here
Okay,
come the
charge
Zealots.
revealed.
Yeah, and a lot more Banelings are on the way. Which is what we do like to see. The Oracle is in a lot of danger right now. Already taken out. The Banelings have been used. And it did take out a decent number of these Zealots. But there are still a decent amount left to really threaten. But again, Demi went Ling Bane. He did not go for Roaches.
Yeah, and he had just enough to hold this. There are more warping in though. There's no more Banelings left.
That was one, but it was crowd controlled. And yeah, now I think that Demi should have more than enough to hold right now.
Yeah, he's pushing all the way
GG.
to... And GG's.
Okay then. Again, I was anticipating a bit of a longer game just because of the map that we were on, but yeah, GG is called in the end. Wait, that was Probe that GG'd, right?
Yeah, Probe GG.
Probe
Demi
GG.
advances to the finals.
There we go. There we go. Yeah. Really, huh.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. We've seen this happen a lot of times in the past. If Demi faces Probe in the finals, he can win, but if Demi faces Probe in the semifinals, usually Demi loses.
Yeah. I mean, Demi, he's taken out Probe a decent amount of times, especially in these tournaments. But you know, I think it's the 2 weeks in a row Demi has made it to the finals, but he just hasn't been able to edge out that win. Whether he gets stopped by someone like Miyamika or Seether, like these big heavy hitters. But like always, like in a ZVP, like I kind of give the edge to Demi. Like he's really good in this matchup. He's and we see that here today. Like he takes out Probe. Go on.
I was just gonna say, I think Demi's ZVT is really good. It's gonna depend on which one of these Terran players advances to the finals. Because you can never forget, Azure, he is the man with gun. He is the man who took out the shark, turned him into soup.
I was saying ZVP, but
Oh wait,
Yes.
ZVT? Oh wait, okay, well. I heard the wrong.
I was getting to the ZVT.
Okay, I heard...
And yeah, when it comes to ZVT, like we've seen Demi kind of struggle like against the Terran players. Like I think both Hut and Seether have beaten Demi in the finals of a ESL Dare Cup. So yeah, he can definitely struggle a little bit in this matchup, but against a player like Azure, there's a long history here. They've gone back and forth, and mate, this is a classic matchup. And let's not forget, Azure won GPO a month or so ago, off the back of taking out. Exactly, yeah.